Welcome to another episode of My ArundelBiz podcast, powered by Anne Arundel Economic Development Corporation. I'm Grayson Orfe.
And I'm Steve Adams, Marketing and Outreach Manager at AAEDC. And as you might be able to tell, we've got a pretty gray, rainy day here, but that's not actually a bad thing because we know April showers bring May flowers, and we also have Earth Day coming up. So we're at the perfect place today for our podcast here at Himmel's Landscape and Garden Center in Pasadena. And I'm pleased to introduce you to Himmel's owner, Elizabeth Elliott. Elizabeth, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here.
And to kick things off, I know that you're not the original owner of Himmel's, but you've got some interesting background related to how you became the owner. So if you could just walk us through how you have arrived at becoming the owner of Himmel's.
Sure, I'd love to. I actually worked at Himmel's 20 years ago. It was one of my first jobs. But let me take you way back here for a second. This business started in 1969. And it used to be a produce stand on the side of the road owned by Miss Helen Himmel. So that's where the name Himmel comes from.
Okay.
And then the former owner who built this business, Steve Watkins, married into the family. And he took it from the produce stand on the side of the road to the retail garden center with the 3 greenhouses and the mulch and bulk materials in the back.
Wow.
So when I worked here 20 years ago, it was already a thriving garden center and well known in the community. And back then I was like 19, 20 years old, and I just instantly fell in love with the landscaping industry and started my own small landscaping business. Yes.
Jeez.
Yes, I did.
That's awesome.
Wow.
It was awesome. But it was a lot of work, and then pretty soon after that I became a young mom and decided, look, this landscaping thing is a lot of work. It's not for me right now.
Exactly.
And I was lucky to be able to move into the corporate world. So I worked at Anne Arundel Community College for 12 years.
Okay.
And then I left the college and worked as a fundraiser for nonprofits for years after that.
Wow.
But the cool story is I stayed in touch with Steve, the former owner, and we talked about me eventually taking the business one day.
Interesting.
And
That is...
yes.
Wow.
Wow is right. And so to make it even more wow, I was working for Global Peace Foundation at an event in South Korea, and I got the phone call from Steve. And so when I got the call,
Good
my
thing you
heart,
had international, I guess.
yes, my heart just jumped out of my chest, and I knew that he was going to ask me. So that was in 2017. Between then and August 1st of 2018, I was able to work with Anne Arundel Economic Development Corporation, actually, to secure a loan through the Volt Fund.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes, yeah, that was really a blessing for me.
Wow.
And as of August 1st, 2018, I became the owner, and here we are today.
That's awesome.
Wow.
It's one of those full circle stories I love to share.
It just seems like everything was very ordered and like just put together, and so it's so awesome just to hear like people's stories of like how just life kind of directed them and got them to this point, and that's awesome.
Not necessarily fate, but like the path to your business being somewhat natural. Or
It was. I mean, going through it those 20 years, there were definitely times when I was like, did not know where I was headed, but my heart was always in Himmel's, and I really felt in my heart I would be back here one day. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So as a woman business owner, what are some of the things that you've faced? You know, because we can all attest to the different challenges that small business ownership takes. And, you know, there's many, you know, you sell many different things, different times of year and all that. But then also there's the woman aspect of it too. What were some of those challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome them?
So I will say that when I started the business, I knew that I wanted to start a landscaping division. And that has actually grown incredibly. And I get a lot of questions about being a woman in a kind of male-focused industry. But I have to say I have not encountered any challenges whatsoever because of that. And I think it's because the community has been so positive.
That's awesome.
I work with a lot of great contractors and vendors who have really supported me with knowledge and advice. and mentorship along the way.
Right.
So the challenges I faced have not been as a woman in this industry. It has been more about time management because we've grown so quickly. I would say time management specific to human resources.
Yeah. I was going to say, not to interrupt, but, having assumed ownership relatively recently, how much have you grown in terms of employees in that short time?
We went from 4 employees to I now have 35 employees.
Holy cow. Wow. Jeez.
And something that I can say is autonomy is not a gift.
Wow.
Yes, and I will share that specifically. Even your most experienced, skilled employees, they need your support. They need tasks. And so be prepared to spend that time on the human resources.
Wow.
This is a garden center and we have landscaping. And I was thinking, okay, I'm going to be working with plants. I'm going to be doing landscape design. I'm doing human resources.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I love it. I love it. It's worth every minute.
Yeah. 10 times the employees that you started with to do paychecks for and time off and benefits and everything. So.
The one thing that I always find about small businesses as well, when you start to grow your business and you start to have actual employees, you kind of have that personal touch with them. And so now it's not like you're developing an employee, but you're developing a person. And you're kind of walking them along. And that, is a really huge gift, because now if you think about it, you're probably looking at some of your employees like, oh man, you may take the business later on down the line just like I did,
Yeah.
That is absolutely a very important part of my approach to my employees. And I can speak to my work at Anne Arundel Community College. I had a mentor, Kathleen Bowman, who she was tough, and she was tough on me, and she taught me how to be excellent and to mind the details. She always said the devil is in the details. And so that her mentorship, she taught me to be a leader. And I take that approach with all of my employees. I am interested in not only their development here, their skill set here, but in their own personal growth, their education, and their improvement in general.
That's awesome.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I guess then, thinking of what some of the challenges have been and how quick the growth has been, what are some top pieces of advice that you'd give for, aspiring entrepreneurs or very early stage business owners?
I would say one of the most important things is to start with the business plan. That is a living document. It's not something that you create to get a loan and just forget about it. That document lives and grows with your business. And that document, my business plan has grown and changed in these short couple of years that I've owned the business. But it helps me to remember, where I came from, what my original thoughts and ideas and goals were, and to focus on those original mission, vision, and values that I invested in to begin with. Second, I'll say that have a mission that is meaningful and relevant. Our mission at Himmel is helping our neighbors build a better, healthier, and more beautiful world. And that's the foundation that we truly start every day with. It's how we interface with one another, with employees with one another, and it's how we approach our customers, and our work in the community, our volunteer work, and our special events. And it's also how we do our landscape design. We care about the Chesapeake Bay and the watershed, so all of our landscaping work is mission focused.
I guess some of that then would go into what flowers you choose to stock and sell, right? In terms
it does.
Like, I'm guessing there's some native species and
and
whatnot, and pollinators and
that's a lot of the buzzwords, but it's buzzword worthy for a reason, because it's really important that we support not only the Chesapeake Bay environment, but the pollinators. We've all heard pollinators are on the decline, and we rely on pollinators for our food source. So planting native plants helps to provide food and habitat for local pollinators. It also creates, it helps the Chesapeake Bay by, protecting the shoreline, protecting from erosion. And plus they're beautiful. I mean, our native plants are absolutely spectacular for color, interest, edible. lots of different reasons why we should be planting natives.
Right.
And we've
Right.
increased our native offerings incredibly in the past couple of years.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a little follow-up there. What goes into, deciding to, I guess it's somewhat of a retail perspective, but in terms of inventory management, what goes into picking and choosing what plant you're going to sell, try to sell, stop selling,
Good question.
because there's got to be, like 500 or more plants here, plant types, something like that?
I just completed inventory to upgrade my point of sale system, and we had 13,000 different line
Okay,
items for
wow.
plant material.
Jeez.
Wow.
And we don't,
Right.
Jeez.
and that's for perennials, shrubs, and trees only. We don't count annuals like this because
Wow.
we never know what we're getting one day to the next.
Yeah.
Selection,
cow.
selection is
Can't
driven by
believe
a couple of different things. We have our landscape design and installation. So we have a supervisor, 3 foremen, and 12 crew members. So that's 3 crews a day, working like 6 days a week now.
Wow.
So we use a lot of plant material, and we're choosing plant material based on sun, shade, wind, and water conditions at a customer's location.
Wow.
So that's for the landscaping. But for the consumer, consumers are looking for native plants. We're hearing that more and more often. So we're shopping the best quality and best value for native plants that we
Yep.
can. But there are also trends. Customers, they watch TV, they see the, what is Joe?
Yeah, there's so much home and garden
That's right, the
stuff out there.
HGTV stuff. They get
Fixer Upper.
Yeah,
and all
stuff
like
those.
that.
Yeah.
Yep.
so customers.
And you always
get-
hear about curb appeal being such a huge aspect of
Exactly.
selling a home, buying
That's
a
right.
home. So
And because of like the social media and media, they'll come to us with specific plant names that they're
Yeah.
looking for, and we try and meet those needs.
right. Interesting.
Yeah.
That number is crazy.
13,000.
Between that and the managing employees.
It is
Yeah.
pretty. I'm really lucky because the past couple years with our growth, I've been ordering everything in a chaotic way.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
get plant lists from our fantastic growers, and I just check, 20 of this, 25
Right.
of that. This year I've hired a green goods manager who's taken all the ordering off of my plate. So
One
that,
thing off your plate.
Yeah,
it's-
well, and
geez.
plus, we're really cognizant of the need for systems and professionalizing always.
Absolutely.
So it will save us money and streamline our process altogether to have someone else focused on managing
Right.
that. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Now the thing about it is that the cool part of doing the podcast is we get to meet cool business owners like
Thank you.
and
Yep.
and we know you guys. The one thing that is always a constant is every business owner is busy, no matter what, no matter the size. What you're always busy. In our top 5 segment, I just want to know, after you leave here, what are your top 5 favorite places, events, things to do in Anne Arundel County?
Good question. So I love the great outdoors. Obviously, I work in the great outdoors. I would say Downs Park, right down the street here, is one of my favorite places to visit. They have a great dog beach there. So I have a little Jack Russell dog and
Energy.
energy. So some days when it's really hectic here, I like to take her over to the park and for a little run on the beach.
Nice.
Yes. Plus, we partner with them. We support Mother's Garden. We do different projects to support Eagle Scouts and other
Awesome.
groups there. I have to say, Anne Arundel Community College is like one of the hidden gems here, one of the greatest resources in the county. Credit classes, non-credit classes. So a customer can, or a community member can go to the community college and learn about planting or carpentry,
Right.
or take a certificate or a credit course. I mean, it's just a great resource.
Probably get some future employees
Yeah.
of
That's
Himmels
right.
from there
That's
too.
right, for sure. I would love to say the Anne Arundel County Public Library.
Yep.
Yes, what a great
Yeah.
resource. I love
Oh,
to
yeah.
read, and I love reading books about leadership and business development.
Nice.
So it's a great resource for that. Plus, we partner with them on events. They bring, they host a story walk here, and preschool kids come
Oh,
and
wow.
walk through the garden center and read a
that's
storybook.
awesome.
It's really cute.
Oh, that is
Very
so
cool.
neat.
Yes. A nonprofit I love locally is Clear Shark H2O.
Okay.
That's an organization that focuses on environmental education specific to the Chesapeake Bay and watershed. And we actually have joint events where they'll come here and teach about oysters to half the group while I'm teaching the other half about the chickens here.
Oh, wow.
It's really fun. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And that was a great resource during the pandemic because the kids were home a lot. So parents could bring the kids here
Right.
for in-person education.
Huh. To look
And plus,
them up
it's
for
always
sure.
good to be out too.
Oh, yes.
Like,
Yeah.
get the kids out,
Yeah.
looking around. Yeah,
Oh, that's
awesome.
all part of our mission,
Yeah.
getting kids in
Yeah.
touch with nature.
Very
I
cool.
have to plug Romulo's restaurant in
Absolutely.
Severna Park
Absolutely.
because I'm a musician and my band, Red Betty and the Ruckus, plays there. And they are really supportive of the local music scene, which, as many of
Nice.
you might know, is really strong here
Yeah.
in Anne Arundel
Oh, yeah.
County. So
Yeah.
we
And
love
actually,
Romulo's.
so from being on social all the time, I know Romulo's just expanded their
They did,
their
yes.
performance and bar area. So
Yes, we played
That's
there
a-
a couple of weeks ago, and I can tell you, Chris, the owner, did a beautiful job of expanding because he sees that that desire of the community to have a place to gather and dance and enjoy music. So he definitely knocked that one out of the park.
yeah.
So listen, I
Good
mean,
timing.
from
Yes.
one musician to another.
Yes.
A lot of people don't realize. I played a triangle. Now,
I did not know this.
Listen, it's very difficult.
It
you
is.
know.
I'm picturing
It is.
Anchorman, the scene in Anchorman with the.
when it's not just
the gy-
pinging it. It's just we'll talk about it later. Don't worry about it. I'll talk about it. I'll talk
Man.
about it later. So that's awesome. That's awesome.
Thank you.
It's I think it's always so important to be well-rounded as a business owner because honestly, this is really your life.
It is.
And your business is you. And if you can get away for a little bit just to get that balance a little bit, it's always
So
important.
important.
Yeah.
If I
Yeah.
could just give one more little tip for
Sure.
entrepreneurs,
Sure.
that is that when you are successful, it's not you, it's your employees. They deserve the credit for all of the great things that happen. When there are issues or difficult times, it's on you, the owner. That's
Right.
really important to be ready to accept and embrace that responsibility, that burden of knowing that when things aren't going right, you've got to fix it. And when they're going great, the credit is due to the employees.
Yeah.
I'm really lucky to have such great employees.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. It's always
Very
a blessing.
true.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yes.
Well, then to jump into my top 5 for you, I have brought my John Deere hat
No.
and my gloves
There we
ready
go.
for some planting.
Yes, you are.
I've actually got quite a landscaping background, but I do seem to constantly buy my mom flowers that don't come back the next year, even though they're supposed to. So with that being said, and actually with Mother's Day coming up as well, so that I don't make the same mistake, if you could give some tips on keeping flowers alive,
Yes.
keeping your grass green throughout the spring and summer, give us what you've got.
I'd love to. And I will jump right in there with what you said. I encourage customers to use perennials.
Yep.
Perennials come back every year. There's a perennial for every situation: full sun, partial sun, dry shade, lots of wind off the water. And they come back every year, so you save money
Right.
and you can create a garden with 4-season interest out of perennials.
So read the labels. That's
Yes,
what we've,
for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
And we do have a section just for perennials here at Himmel's.
Okay.
And associates who are very educated and available to help with selection.
Nice.
Yes. Regarding the lawn, well, I'm going to say, and this is probably not very popular, but it's part of my mission, to forget the myth of the lawn.
Just let it go
You
natural.
know, I mean, you can definitely overseed and have a nice green lawn, but if you've got some weeds in there, those are meant to be there.
Right.
You know, the pollinators use that clover or the buttercups or dandelions to support their life cycle. So.
Right. So they're really only weed. I've heard this said. They're really just weeds because we call them weeds.
That's
They're-
right.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not harmful, and I think that, like I said, the myth of the lawn is something that we should move past, especially to protect the bay. We don't want harmful chemicals going into the bay.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's my plug on that.
Yep.
And I would also say try vegetable gardening.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
You know, it's really
Yeah.
easy no matter the amount of space you have. There are some vegetables that grow really well in a container on a deck.
Oh,
So
wow.
try vegetable gardening to grow your own food. It's really fun and easy, for
Nice.
sure.
Sounds good to me.
Yes.
That's great. That's great. So, Elizabeth, before signing off, I want to know what are your handles? What are your social media, your website?
Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
I'm really proud of my website. That was produced by Mint Media, an Annapolis company.
Nice.
And it's himmelsgardencenter.com. And we encourage customers to visit because they can order product online, learn
Cool.
about us, learn different tips about gardening. We are on Facebook and Instagram, and I believe it's at Himmel's Garden Center.
Great.
Yes, so
Great.
check us out. Facebook, we're very active. Instagram, not so much. I need some help with that one.
We can give you a little.
Yes,
we
I
can
need
give you
some
some
tips.
tips.
Yeah.
We can give
Yeah.
some tips there.
Yeah.
For sure.
And yeah, that's perfect cue for reminding everyone out there to follow us on all of our social channels, to watch this podcast and any of our past podcasts. That's Anne Arundel Economic Development on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter, and ArundelBiz on Instagram. And thanks for tuning in.
Thanks,
Thank
Elizabeth.
you. A lot of fun, guys.